God says this message has been delivered to you in a moment that could change the entire direction of your story, and even if you don't fully understand why your spirit feels a sudden heat, a sudden pull, a sudden pressure inside your chest as you read this, heaven says it's because something has shifted in the unseen. Something that was asleep has awakened. Something that was silent has started moving. And God says He has commanded Archangel Michael to come forward and tell you something that you need to know now, not later, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, right now. Because the timing is divine and your heart has been calling for answers louder than you even realize, Archangel Michael says. With a voice that shakes through the spiritual realm, that this message is not meant to scare you, not meant to hurt you, but to prepare you. And He is saying it with an urgency that even heaven does not use often. He says someone who once broke your heart, someone who once walked away, someone who once made you cry in a moment where you felt completely abandoned, is about to return. Not by accident. Not because they suddenly remembered you. But because the hand of God has stirred something in their conscience, something they ran from, something they tried to bury inside their own soul, and it refused to stay buried. God says you have been protected through every tear you cried. Through every silent night, through every moment you wondered why things happened the way they did. You questioned yourself, questioned your worth, questioned your destiny, and even questioned whether God noticed the moment your spirit collapsed under the weight of what you carried. But God says you were never unseen. You were never unheard. Every tear you cried became a testimony in heaven. Every heartbreak you endured was witnessed. Every time you whispered, "Why me?" God answered in ways you couldn't see yet. Now the moment has come when the story you thought was over takes a dramatic shift. Archangel Michael says this is not a coincidence. This is not a random emotional impulse. This is the moment when the person who shattered you begins to feel the weight of what they did. Their spirit has been restless. Their heart has been uneasy. Their mind has been circling back to you even when they tried their hardest to push the memories away. God has been working on them quietly, steadily, powerfully, and the pressure has reached them. They feel a pull toward you they cannot explain. They feel regret burning in their chest. They feel a need to speak, to confess, to undo the damage, to return to the place their soul left unfinished. God says you thought the door was closed forever, but heaven is saying that destiny does not operate on human finality. When God writes a story, He writes it with meaning, with purpose, with threads that stretch beyond logic. And the person who once broke you is now facing the truth. They are realizing that walking away did not free them. It fractured them. They are waking up to the reality of what you meant to their life, and they cannot escape it anymore. But God says this return is not just about love, not just about romance. This is spiritual closure, spiritual justice, spiritual restoration. This is about you stepping into a season where what once wounded you becomes what heals you. Where what once confused you becomes what brings you clarity. Where what once felt like betrayal becomes a testimony of God's protection and divine timing, you are safe. That is the first thing heaven needs you to understand. God says nothing will go wrong with you. The fear that rises in your heart when you hear that someone from your past is returning, it's natural. But heaven says the fear is not a warning, it is a memory. It is an echo of what you survived, not a prophecy of what is coming. God says the past cannot repeat because you are not the person you were back then. God has grown you, reshaped you, strengthened you, and elevated your discernment. You are no longer blind to intentions. You are no longer fragile in the ways you once were. You are no longer emotionally vulnerable to people who do not value you. You have gained spiritual armor, and God Himself has been reinforcing your heart. Archangel Michael says that the person returning is coming with a softened heart. Life has humbled them. Choices have exposed them. Shadows have followed them. And the truth they ran from has finally confronted them. They lost something sacred when they lost you. They broke something inside themselves when they broke you. They walked away from a blessing thinking they were choosing freedom, but instead they walked into a chain of consequences that has been tightening around them ever since. God says they will return not because of loneliness, not because of convenience, not because they want temporary comfort. They will return because their soul is restless without closure, without truth, without healing. Something inside them has been whispering your name, a whisper they try to ignore but it keeps echoing louder, like a reminder that refuses to fade. And God says that whether you choose to take them back or not will be entirely your choice. He will not force you. Heaven does not demand that you return to a bond that wounded you. Instead, God is placing the power in your hands, because this time you are the one in control. You are the one with clarity. You are the one with peace. You are the one who will decide how this chapter ends. You are the one who will choose what your spirit needs. Archangel Michael says you must open your heart, not to accept them blindly, but to listen, to understand, to know the spiritual truth behind their return. Because their arrival is not random. It is connected to your destiny, to your purpose. To a healing God has been preparing for you, even when you didn't know what was coming. God says there is a blessing tied to this return. Not always the blessing of reunion, but the blessing of release. Some people return to apologize, some return to correct what they broke, and some return simply so God can free you from the last emotional chain that held you back. But Archangel Michael says there is a high divine possibility that this person is returning because the connection was meant to transform, not end. You have been feeling strange energy around your heart lately, moments of sudden emotion, unexpected memories, dreams that felt too vivid to ignore. God says those were not coincidences. Your spirit was sensing the movement in the unseen. You were feeling the pull before your conscious mind could understand it. The spiritual realm always moves before the physical one catches up. God says He has been protecting you fiercely during this time. Every obstacle you faced, every delay, every moment of confusion, those were God shielding you from premature contact, from emotional danger, from repeating cycles that were not yet ready to heal. God slowed things down so He could strengthen you. God delayed certain conversations so He could prepare your heart. God blocked certain encounters because the timing was not aligned yet. But now the shift has happened. The gate is open. The message is being delivered. The moment has arrived. Archangel Michael says he has been standing near you for days now, pushing this message toward you, trying to reach you because the urgency is real. He says this is not a drill, not a symbolic message, not a vague spiritual suggestion. This is a real movement happening in your timeline right now. Heaven has been pressing on this person's heart so intensely that they cannot hold it back anymore. Whatever they ran from is coming full circle, and they are being guided, or forced, to make things right. God says He will not let anything harm you. He will not let anyone play with your heart again. He will not allow deception to enter your life. And that is why Archangel Michael is guarding this moment so closely, because he wants you to move with peace, not fear. With discernment, not anxiety. With confidence, not hesitation, your spirit is entering a turning point. The weight you've been carrying is about to be lifted. The confusion that lingered inside you is about to be replaced with understanding. The hurt that you tucked deep inside your soul is about to be addressed, healed, and transformed. God says your prayers were not ignored. Every time you asked, "Will they ever understand what they did to me?" Heaven heard you. And the answer has finally reached the earth: yes. They will understand. In fact, they already do. Their heart is heavy with regret. Their conscience has been awakened. Their spirit feels drawn toward you because there is unfinished destiny that must now be dealt with. Archangel Michael says you will not be caught off guard. He will guide your intuition. You will feel the exact moment the energy shifts. You will feel when they think about you. You will feel when their message is being typed. You will feel when they choose to move toward you. Your spirit will know before your phone lights up. There is something sacred in the bond you shared with this person. Even though pain entered the story, even though heartbreak cracked your faith for a moment, God says the connection itself carried divine purpose. Some souls meet early, before they're ready, before they're mature, before they understand the weight of the love they are being given. And sometimes the separation is necessary for transformation. That is what happened here. The separation did not kill the connection. It developed it. God says you were not abandoned, you were set apart. You were not forgotten, you were protected. You were not rejected, you were redirected. Everything that happened was preparing this moment. Archangel Michael says this message will reach you at the right time, when your soul is ready to receive the truth without fear. You have overcome so much pain, and now you are being guided into a season of emotional restoration. You are safe. nothing will go wrong. God's hand is on your life so strongly that even the darkness that once chased you can no longer get close. As the person who broke you returns, God says He will stand between you and anything that tries to harm you. You will have the strength to say no if needed, the wisdom to understand their intentions, and the clarity to know whether this is a season of closure or a season of reconciliation. God says this time, you will not lose yourself. This time, you will not break. This time, you will not fall apart. This time, you will walk with the strength of the entire heavenly realm standing behind you. And Archangel Michael says one more thing, something he whispered urgently. Do not ignore this. Something is happening behind the scenes faster than you think. Their heart is moving toward you and heaven needs your spirit prepared. You are protected, you are guided, you are held in God's hands, and nothing, absolutely nothing, will go wrong with you. God says trust Him, pray to Him, and stay open as He unfolds this divine moment that has been written into your destiny since the beginning. God says that there are moments in your life when the universe becomes silent, when the whispers of heaven suddenly stop, and you feel like nothing is moving, nothing is changing, and nothing is improving. But God says that today is not one of those days. Today heaven is loud. Heaven is awake, heaven is alert, and heaven is watching you with more intensity than ever because something is shifting around your life that you cannot see yet. God says that an urgent message is descending upon your spirit because the time has arrived for something long delayed, long buried, long forgotten to rise again, and Archangel Michael is standing beside you, holding a divine truth that you need to hear now before it is too late. God says it is an emergency, and Archangel Michael repeats the same words, saying that someone who once broke your heart is being pulled back in your direction by a force that is not coincidence and not chance but divine timing unfolding too precisely to ignore. God says that the person who broke you, the one who walked away from you, the one who left you in confusion, questions, and quiet tears that no one saw, is beginning to feel the weight of everything they ran from. They are feeling the consequences of their choices. They are feeling the echo of your absence. They are feeling the truth that God shielded you with, that you were not the one who failed them, you were the blessing they could not handle. And now, as the seasons around you shift, heaven says that this person is being pushed toward you with a sudden emotional storm they cannot control. Archangel Michael says that this person is returning, not because of regret alone but because something divine is forcing them to confront what they tried to bury inside their heart. God says that He has watched you suffer silently for too long, carrying wounds you never deserved, carrying guilt that was never yours, carrying pain that should have been healed long ago. He says you waited, not for the person, but for closure, for understanding, for peace, for the truth that was denied to you. But heaven says that now the cycle is coming full circle. The one who broke your heart is walking back into your life because God is demanding that unfinished business be settled. Not for their comfort, but for your healing. Not for their benefit, but for your elevation. God says that this return is happening not to drag you back into old suffering but to reveal everything that was hidden from you, the reasons, the emotions, the fears, the confessions, and the secrets that were left unsaid. Archangel Michael says he has been fighting spiritual battles around your energy for weeks because something was trying to block the truth from reaching you. Something was trying to delay this moment. Something was trying to keep you in confusion so you would not receive the emotional closure heaven prepared for your heart. But Michael says he defeated that interference, removed that shadow, and cleared the spiritual pathway so this revelation can reach you safely. He says that the moment you open this message, the energy begins shifting around your home, around your heart, around your spirit, and around the person who is returning. God says you must know this now, before tonight, because the emotional surge coming toward you is powerful, unexpected, and destined. It is something heaven does not want you to fear. You are safe. You are protected. Nothing will go wrong with you. God keeps repeating that you are in His hands, and nothing can touch you while He stands over you. God says the person who broke your heart has spent nights remembering the sound of your voice, the softness of your presence, the warmth you gave without asking for anything in return. They replay memories, moments, and unfinished conversations. They feel guilt for their silence, regret for their decisions, and fear that they lost something that can never be replaced. Archangel Michael says he was assigned to watch this person and to watch their intentions, to make sure their return is not harmful, to make sure they do not bring chaos into your life. And Michael says he has tested their heart. He has pushed them into confronting their mistakes. He has made them face their truth. He has demanded accountability. Heaven says that this return is not accidental, it is spiritually monitored, divinely supervised, and energetically protected. God says that you have grown in ways this person never expected. You healed wounds they left behind. You rebuilt parts of yourself that were shattered. You learned to stand again without leaning on anyone else. You discovered strength inside you that you never knew you had. And because of that, you are not the same person you were when they left. You are stronger, wiser, calmer, more awakened, and more spiritually aligned. God says that this is why the return is happening now, not before. Before, they would have hurt you again. Before, you were still tender, still vulnerable, still hopeful in ways that could have been manipulated. Now, you stand in divine strength. Now, your spirit is protected. Now, your heart is wiser. Now, you know your worth. Archangel Michael says that this return will be emotional. It will be heavy. It will pull long-buried feelings to the surface. But he says this is not a warning of danger, it is a call to clarity. God says everything that confused you will be explained. Everything that disappeared will be revealed. Everything that hurt you will finally make sense. And God says to remember that you have the power to choose. Just because someone returns does not mean you must accept them. This return is meant to free you, not cage you. It is meant to release you, not bind you. God says you will feel a healing that flows through your soul, and whether you decide to reconnect or walk away, you will walk away with peace, with power, and with full understanding. God says there is something important about the timing. The person who broke your heart has been feeling a spiritual pull toward you strongly for the last few days. They cannot sleep properly. They cannot focus. They feel an emptiness that reminds them of what they lost. Heaven says they tried to distract themselves, but nothing worked. They tried to suppress their feelings, but the truth rose higher. They tried to convince themselves they moved on, but their heart keeps circling back to you. Archangel Michael says he touched their conscience. He pressed their heart. He whispered into their spirit that the time has arrived for honesty. He says he pushed them to think about you, not out of romance alone but out of divine responsibility, because God is requiring them to speak what they failed to say the first time. God says that the moment you finish reading this message, you will feel a shift within your emotions. A calm will enter you, because heaven is preparing your heart so you do not panic when this person reaches out. God says you are safe. He says nothing harmful will come to you. He says there is no danger. He says you are divinely shielded. The urgency of this message is not about fear, it is about timing. God says this message reached you today because the window for this return has opened, and heaven wants you emotionally ready. Archangel Michael says you may notice signs in the next hours. You may feel someone thinking of you intensely. You may dream of this person. You may see their name. You may feel a sudden heaviness or warmth in your chest. You may recall memories you haven't thought about in months or years. That is not coincidence. That is the energetic confirmation that their spirit is moving toward yours again. But heaven says do not be afraid of these signs. They are not warnings, they are signals of alignment. God says that He is proud of you. He says you kept your heart soft even after it was broken. You kept your faith alive even when you cried silently. You stayed kind even when the world was unkind to you. You kept your soul pure even when people tried to contaminate your peace. God says your purity is why heaven is intervening now. He says your loyalty is why the cycle must close. He says your heart is too precious to carry old pain any longer. God says that when this person returns, you will feel a moment of shock, a moment of confusion, maybe even a moment of emotional intensity, but do not fear it. You are strong enough now. You are protected enough now. You are guided enough now. Heaven says Archangel Michael will stand beside you during the exact moment of contact. He will guard your spirit, calm your emotions, and shield you from any harm. God says nothing will go wrong for you. Not now. Not ever. Because He is watching every step of this divine return, Archangel Michael says that this person has realized something important. God says this is an urgent message, a message that carries the weight of something that has already begun moving toward you even before you open this. God says He has watched your tears, the ones you cried silently, the ones no one noticed, and He has seen the pain in your heart caused by someone who broke you deeply. Even if you try to stay strong, even if you act like everything is fine, God knows the truth of what your heart carries. This message is not random. This message is not accidental. This message is not a coincidence that your eyes are seeing these words at this exact moment. God says, it is an emergency, because the person who broke your heart is on their way back into your life, and heaven wants you to be spiritually prepared before it happens. God wants you to know that you are safe, nothing will go wrong with you. But you must trust Him, you must believe His protection is real, and you must not ignore the guidance being given at this moment. God says Archangel Michael has been standing beside you through moments when you didn't even realize danger was near. He shielded you from emotional wounds that were meant to be deeper. He blocked certain messages, certain meetings, certain people, because He knew your heart was not ready. But now something has shifted in the spiritual realm. The person who shattered your trust, the person who walked away or betrayed your kindness, has been battling their own consequences, and the weight of their decisions is pulling them back toward you. Archangel Michael says this is not a joke. This is not just another emotional cycle, this is something spiritually important, and ignoring this message would mean missing vital guidance about what is coming. God says the returning person has been carrying guilt. They think about the moments they hurt you more than you think they do. There are nights when their heart becomes restless, and the memory of your voice or your love interrupts their peace. They did not expect to miss you. They did not expect the absence to feel this heavy. They pushed you away thinking they had control, thinking they had power over the story, but now everything has reversed. Now it is their heart that is trembling. Now it is their spirit that feels the emptiness. Now it is them who feels the depth of your silence. And God says something has awakened inside them, something that is driving them back toward you, and you must be spiritually aware so you don't get hurt again in the wrong way. God says you have grown in ways they have not seen. You have healed quietly, matured spiritually, become stronger emotionally, even if you still feel wounded. You think you are weak, but God says your strength is greater than you realize. You think you are broken, but God says you are rising. Every tear was a seed. Every heartbreak was a lesson. Every disappointment shaped you. And now, that past heartbreak is looping back, not to destroy you, but to reveal truth. To expose hidden things, and to test whether you have truly learned what God has been teaching your spirit. Archangel Michael says the person returning has struggled with pride. They didn't want to admit their mistake. They didn't want to acknowledge your value when they had you. They didn't want to confess what they truly felt. But God allowed separation because the connection was unbalanced. You were giving more than you received. You were loving harder than they could understand. You were fighting for something they didn't see clearly. And now, with everything they tried to replace you with failing, they are being divinely redirected toward you, because God wants you to witness the truth. Not the fantasy you created out of love, but the real truth of who they are, who they have become, and whether they deserve a place in your heart again. God says you must not fear. Nothing will harm you. Nothing will go wrong with you. Heaven is already guarding your heart, your home, your spirit, your peace. But this moment is delicate. It is a turning point. And God is sending this message because He wants you to approach this return not emotionally, but spiritually. Not with fear, but with clarity. Not with weakness, but with strength. The returning person is carrying more than feelings. They are carrying secrets, regrets, realizations, and a spiritual burden that they do not fully understand. Their life has not been the same since you separated. They have faced disappointments. They have lost opportunities. They have felt something missing in ways they cannot explain. They thought they could move on easily. They failed. They tried to fill the void left by your presence. They failed. They tried to convince themselves that losing you didn't matter. They failed again. And now, something within them is pushing them back into your energy, and heaven is bringing it to your attention because you must decide from a place of wisdom, not from the wounds of the past. God says sometimes people come back not to stay, but to apologize, to heal, to close cycles. But sometimes they return because they finally realized who you truly were in their life. Heaven is not telling you to accept or reject them blindly. Heaven is telling you to be prepared, because this return will trigger emotions you thought were buried. It will open memories you thought were closed. It will pull at the parts of your heart that still feel tender. And God wants you to be steady, grounded, protected, and spiritually alert. Archangel Michael says he will be standing by your side when this person returns. You will not face this alone. You will not be confused the way you were before. God will give you signs, clarity, and spiritual insight. The moment this person tries to reach out, your intuition will ignite. Your spirit will feel the shift. You may even have dreams, emotional waves, or sudden memories because their energy is already moving toward you. God says the connection between souls often awakens before physical action takes place. The spiritual world moves before the physical world responds. God says He is proud of how far you have come. You survived heartbreak that would have broken someone else completely. You carried pain with grace. You still cared even when you were hurting. You still wished them well even when they didn't deserve it. And heaven saw that. Heaven counted every moment of kindness. Heaven counted every sacrifice. Heaven counted every time you loved selflessly. And now, the return of this person is not only about them. It is also about showing you the value you carry, the light you hold, and the spiritual maturity you have grown into. But God also warns you that you must not lose yourself this time. You must not shrink yourself to please them. You must not forget your worth just because someone from your past appears again. You must not fall into old patterns. You must let your healed self lead, not your wounded self. God says the person returning will be emotional. They will speak with honesty they weren't capable of before. They may confess things you never knew. They may reveal reasons behind their actions. They may open their heart in ways that will shock you. But God says do not make decisions based on emotions alone. Listen with your spiritual ears. Observe with spiritual eyes. Feel with the discernment heaven has trained inside you. There will be a moment, soon, when your phone may light up with a message or a call, and you will feel your heart jump. That moment is the shift heaven is preparing you for. You must remember these words when it happens. God says He is giving you this warning so you will not be caught off guard. You will not be shaken. You will not be confused. You will stand in a place of inner peace, knowing heaven already told you this would happen. God says what is returning to you is not simply a person, but a mirror of your spiritual journey. You will see how much you have grown when you look at them. You will see how much stronger you are when you speak to them. You will see how deeply God protected you when you hear their story. And you will realize that what once broke you no longer has power over you the same way. Archangel Michael says he is guarding your heart fiercely. He will not allow manipulation. He will not allow confusion. He will not allow emotional harm. But He will allow truth, healing, and revelation. Heaven is not against this reunion. Heaven is not forcing it. Heaven is simply preparing you for something that is already written in destiny's path. God says you must keep praying, because your prayers are your shield. You must trust Him, because His guidance will lead you through the emotional waves that may come. You must breathe deeply and stay calm, because nothing bad will happen to you. This message is not a threat. It is protection. It is preparation. It is a divine alert meant to give you spiritual advantage. God says your miracle is still unfolding. Your blessings are still aligned. Your future is still blessed. This return is not a setback. It is part of your story, part of your revelation, part of your alignment. What comes next will bring clarity that heals wounds you've carried for too long. God says be strong. Be ready. Be calm. Something is coming, and heaven is with you every step of the way. Archangel Michael is beside you, protecting you, guiding you, leading you, and ensuring that through this return, you will rise, not fall. You will shine, not break. You will finally understand why everything happened the way it did. God says, trust Him. Nothing will go wrong with you. You are safe. You are protected. And what is coming is meant to bring light, truth, and closure to your heart. God says this is an emergency, and Archangel Michael is standing closer to you right now than he has in a very long time, because something in the spiritual realm has shifted in a powerful and unexpected way. The winds around your life have started moving differently, the energy around your heart has begun rising, and the truth that was once hidden is now pushing forward with unstoppable force. God says someone who broke your heart, someone who walked away, someone whose absence created a deep wound inside you, is being pulled back toward you by a divine pressure they can no longer resist. This is not normal timing. This is not coincidence. This is not a random emotional wave. This is something heaven has authorized, and Archangel Michael says you must open your heart and listen carefully, because this return is not like before. This return carries meaning, intention, and destiny. You may not be aware of it, but for weeks your name has been echoing in their mind. Even when they tried to forget you, even when they forced themselves to move forward, even when they tried to distract their heart with other people, other conversations, or other responsibilities, nothing worked. God says their spirit has been restless because they know they wronged you. They know they hurt someone who never deserved to be hurt. They know they pushed away someone who only loved them, supported them, cared for them, prayed for them, and believed in them. And now that spiritual consequences have reached them, they are awakening to the truth that losing you was the biggest mistake of their life. They are remembering your voice. They are feeling your absence. They are replaying the moments when they failed you. They are feeling the weight of their choices. And heaven has opened their eyes to something they refused to see before. They were given a rare soul. And they mishandled you. God says this moment is urgent, not because something bad is coming, but because something powerful is unfolding. The door that was shut is moving. The chain that kept them silent is breaking. The guilt that kept them distant is dissolving. And the emotional block that prevented them from speaking their truth is melting away. But Archangel Michael says the real urgency is this: their return will be emotional, unexpected, and vulnerable. They may come to you with trembling words. They may come with tears they can no longer hide. They may come with apologies that have been building inside them for months. They may come with truths they never had the courage to tell you before. Something has shifted inside them so deeply that even the way they breathe has changed when they think of you. God says you are safe, and you must not fear this moment. You are not in danger. Nothing will go wrong with you. You are surrounded by divine protection so strong that even your anxiety cannot interfere with what heaven has arranged. God knows how much pain you carried silently. God knows how many nights you prayed for answers. God knows how many times you asked, "Why did they do this to me? Why did they leave when all I gave was love?" And heaven heard you every time. Your tears did not go unnoticed. Your confusion did not go unseen. Your heartache did not go unrecognized. And now God is bringing clarity to the confusion, closure to the pain, and expression to the silence. Archangel Michael has been watching over this connection with fierce protection. He blocked certain people from interfering. He removed energies that were trying to distract your person. He revealed the truth of certain hidden conversations. And He awakened your person to the inner voice they had been ignoring for so long. They tried to run from their feelings. They tried to bury their emotions under work, friendships, and forced positivity. But every time they suppressed their heart, it only grew heavier. Every time they avoided you, something inside them felt incomplete. Every time they tried to convince themselves they were better off without you, something in their spirit whispered, "This is not over." God says this person is returning because they finally understand who you are to them. They finally understand the value of your presence. They finally understand the depth of your loyalty. They finally understand that the way you loved them was something they cannot replace, replicate, or find in anyone else. They finally understand that you were the blessing they prayed for but did not know how to receive. And now heaven is creating the moment where their soul will rise up and speak, even if their mind is afraid, even if their pride is trembling, even if their fear is screaming, because the truth inside them has become louder than the excuses they used to hide behind. God knows your heart is tired. God knows you have healed parts of yourself alone. God knows you tried to move on but something always felt unfinished. Not because you are weak, not because you are attached, but because this story was not supposed to end the way it did. This is why every time you tried to forget them, something in your soul resisted. This is why every time you told yourself you were done, something deeper whispered that it wasn't true. This is why every attempt to disconnect felt forced. God says your intuition was not wrong. What you felt spiritually was not imaginary. The connection was never broken. It was spiritually paused, waiting for the exact moment heaven would intervene. Archangel Michael says your person is returning with honesty. They are returning with sincerity. They are returning with fear in their eyes but truth in their heart. They are returning because they finally realized that hurting you did not make them stronger, it broke them too. They are returning because pretending to be fine without you was exhausting. They are returning because even in their happiest moments, something always felt missing. They are returning because God allowed them to see a future without you, and that vision terrified them. Something powerful is happening behind the scenes, something only heaven could orchestrate. Your person has been receiving signs everywhere, dreams of you. Memories that hit them out of nowhere, emotional waves that make no sense, sudden guilt that keeps them awake at night, and a strange pull toward you they cannot explain. They tried to ignore it. They tried to suppress it. They tried to distract themselves. But the signs only grew stronger. The dreams became clearer. The pull became heavier. The emotions became louder. God says this is spiritual alignment, not coincidence. You must prepare your heart emotionally. Not to be hurt again, but to understand the truth when it comes. God is not sending them back to break you. God is sending them back to heal what was broken. God is not allowing this return to reopen old wounds. God is allowing this return to close them permanently. God is not restoring this connection to repeat a cycle.